What's up? Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Give people a minute to join in, send this Discord. Let me know if you guys can hear me, see my screen, see me. Audio, video check. Run through analysis today. Had quite a sell-off overnight already. So pretty large move already overnight. See how this impacts the analysis for the game plan trade setups that I'm watching out for today. Awesome. Thanks, Leon. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Let people know in here. All right, so let's start getting into the analysis, guys. It's a slower day today as far as planned news goes. Have more action as far as planned news tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. It's NFP week. So I'll briefly recap yesterday. I ended up not taking any trades yesterday morning. Yesterday afternoon around 1 o'clock, I ended up scalping shorts on NQ for about 37-point trade before my trailed stop loss hit, which was my take profit. That's how I manage those kind of counter trend type scalps. See if I can find where I took that. Just kind of briefly review it here for you guys. So without pulling up the replay on Bookmap, because my data is already on for today, but I'll just briefly touch on the candle chart, what I saw here. So basically from like 11 a.m. Oh, hang on, I don't have the time on here. I want to get the time in this. Just quickly rehash this trade from yesterday. So basically we had a huge blast yesterday morning right off the open. I didn't personally see anything to trade with that. And then after that, it went like in a very sideways kind of channel grind. And I personally just didn't spot any good opportunities to trade it. Although, you know, we could have continued to look to long pullbacks after how much strength was in there. However, after we broke prior day highs, I saw significant absorption occurring basically from like 11:30 after this last rally, 11:30, 11:45 until 1 o'clock. So if you look up here at these highs, you can just see, and we could see it better on Bookmap, just repeatedly again and again, these highs were absorbed, right? So I ended up taking shorts here around 25.70, or actually specifically right at 25.070 is where my entry was, with a stop over 75. So about a 5 or 6 point risk on NQ. And I was targeting a break under these lows back under 25,000. Sorry, under these lows back under 25,000. However, once structure shifts in my direction, I trail my stop loss along the way. And so once I'm up more than 2R on that kind of counter trend trade, I begin trailing my stop loss. And so this is where my trailed stop loss hit right there on this little pop here. So we had already broken under these lows. I began trailing my stop loss here, then here, and that's where my take profit hit for 37 points. Again, it was like a 5-6 point risk. So my final target did not hit, but once we break structure that far in my direction, it's either, my final target or my trailed stop, whichever hits first is my take profit. So that's a quick recap on the trade yesterday. If you guys aren't aware, there is a free Discord in Chart Fanatics. I stream live with Chart Fanatics live on Fridays, but I will be doing an upcoming educational session there in the Discord on Chart Fanatics for free. So recommend you guys joining in there, and I'll go through kind of an in-depth educational session and trade review. So let me pull up my charts. We'll go through the analysis for today. Good morning, Abis. Good morning, TradeX Jitsu. Welcome in, guys. Steve, good morning. Welcome, welcome. All right. So let me pull up my 4-hour charts here. We'll just kind of jump into it today and go through my analysis and what I'm watching out for here this morning. Start with my 4-hour charts here. So you can see this area around 67.85 to 67.50. These are some key prior lows. There was also some key order flow activity around there. And we've seen that area over the last few months continuously act as a major support area. We've bounced off there numerous times. We've come back down there to test that in the pre-market. So we closed all the way at the highs yesterday, completely rejected, all the way broke under prior day lows overnight, all the way back into these lows. So extended, I think like over 150 points now sell-off overnight. And you can see the velocity of the move just increasing. Like, look at the size of these 4-hour candles increasing as we broke down. So a lot of volatility and momentum on this downside breakdown overnight. However, we've now come into this key area, which I would have wanted to target for shorts. It's hard to now initiate shorts at this key spot, this key area, right? So now I kind of need to sit back and wait. As usual, it seems like the good moves are coming at the most random times, hard to capitalize on it. And then we're fighting for scraps at the primary trading times. But, oh well. So, let me zoom in here a little bit. So, we see this key area. It's repeatedly acted as demand. We've kind of got a bit of consolidation here. If we just look at this candle, let me get rid of this so we can see better. So if we kind of look at this candle that's formed here on the 4-hour, you can see just all wick in the body, just right there in the middle. So we've been kind of up and down in this range, and we'll look at it a little bit more closely with the volume profile, but we can see clearly from this 4-hour candle chart, it's just all wick. We've consolidated up and down inside this range, which coincides with this same key range that we see that has been key levels before. So no surprise when the market sold off into this area, we're seeing some consolidation here, right? This is a key demand area, and we're kind of forming potentially demand again with this consolidation here. However, we need to wait and see what happens, right? Do we recover back above this, hold above it, and rally back up into the highs? That would probably be likely, given that we've bounced off this area, off these lows, many, many times over the last couple months. This has repeatedly been a demand area that buyers have defended, and every time we've come down here, we've popped back up into the highs. However, there has definitely been weakness building. VX has been holding higher lows overall, working its way higher. And over the last 6 weeks, if I pull up a weekly chart, we would see we've continuously held lower highs, albeit we have not broken down these key lows yet, but that's kind of a clear sign of exhaustion when we continuously put in lower highs, lower highs, lower highs on rallies inside this multi-month consolidation range. We're seeing exhaustion from buyers to continue to press price higher at the highs. So that could set up for a potentially substantial breakdown now of these lows. And the next thing that I really have my eyes on is this area around 6,600. I'll pull up the charts to come up with some more key areas. But potentially within that, there is kind of a key little spot here, like 67.26, and to 6,700. That's kind of a key whole number area. There was a little consolidation there. So, and that's about halfway down there as well. So that area probably around 6,700, 6,726 would be about a halfway spot to keep an eye on. And then this would be like the next major area. We had a significant key kind of double bottom form down there at 6,600s. So that would be like the next key spot to watch. So if we do fail to break this down and recover, though, I'll be watching out for us to potentially move back up into the highs, possibly at least in terms of today, maybe the middle of yesterday's range. We'll see some stuff on the volume profile here in a second, right? But that's the key things that I'm watching here on ES. It's very similar overall on NQ. Let me just drop this screenshot in the Discord for anyone that wants to review. Let's take a look here at NQ briefly. I am primarily an S&P trader, guys, but I do, and especially recently, have been taking more trades on NQ. So I do trade both NQ as well. I get that question often. I agree. Logan said longs are tough with price breaking and rejecting under lows and VX surging. I agree. The sentiment has shifted pretty heavy, and it is a little tricky, especially, but it's also tricky because we've already sold off 150 points overnight into this key area that has repeatedly bounced. So I find it difficult contextually to initiate shorts down here at the lows, after we've already sold off so substantially, especially since over the last few months, regardless of what's happened, this area has just repeatedly bounced again and again and again. This might be the time that we break it down, but I don't want to be, too speculative before that actually happens, before I actually see proof that that is happening. All right, so I have this area highlighted in light blue. This is just some key areas from prior lows that has bounced repeatedly, similarly to those key multi-month lows on ES. This is kind of key multi-month lows that we've repeatedly bounced out of, which is kind of around 24.2 to 24.4s. This is kind of that key area as well. Recently, we had, this significant consolidation for a couple weeks here in this sideways range right here. We had a little fake out above and then broke all the way back down to the lows. Now kind of watching to see, is this a fake out of the lows? And we again revisit back in the middle of the range. We kind of already did that yesterday. We kind of already had the fake out of the lows yesterday, popped back up into the highs, failed, and now we're right back down here again. So this is kind of looking pretty heavy. It's kind of looking pretty heavy. You can see, again, we've just continuously in recent weeks continued to hold lower highs, right? So this is building kind of exhaustion from buyers and just building pressure on these lows, in my opinion, right? How we've continued to set lower highs over the last 6 weeks. We've continued to just again and again apply pressure at these lows. Pops are lacking continuation at the highs. So there's definitely heaviness in the air that we need to watch out for us to potentially, finally, break down these key lows, possibly. Maybe today, maybe next week, maybe not at all. We just got to wait and see what happens, right? Again, if we see this fail to break down and we recover again, then I'll still be looking for longs. However, if we do break under here and we see signs of weakness, I'll likely be looking to get short. And let me zoom out here a little bit. Kind of the next key spot that I see is around 23,500, 23,600-ish area on NQ. Those are those key prior lows from back in August to September of last year, actually kind of July to September of last year. We had multiple lows down there. So that kind of area around 25,300 to 25,600. If we do break down, that would be, my eyes are on that spot next. Drop this in here. So in this situation, I think it's very important to wait and see what happens and gauge the real-time auction that develops to take a best attempt on which way we're going to trade it, right? Let me take a screenshot of my 30-minute chart. So this is my 30-minute chart on Sierra chart with a volume profile. So we had this nice rally yesterday, pretty much all day. It was actually kind of a tough rally to capitalize on, in my opinion. There was a lot of heavy selling, yet we just continued to grind higher all day. And then we look at this absorption that built up here at the highs, massive amount at these highs up here, right? And I think I traded on NQ, but just looking around 1300, that's around those highs. So very close to the high of day yesterday is where I attempted shorts and ended up taking it on NQ for a win. Again, didn't catch the ultimate high of day. I was looking for more of a breakdown. However, the price pretty much just consolidated into the close until everybody's options expired and then broke down from there. So this was a key kind of supply area that we could call it that formed up here, where we tried to break over prior day highs, and that was part of the thesis for my trade setup. We tried to break over highs, ran into significant absorption. So passive sellers up here, PS, passive sellers up there, and then followed by aggressive selling. So I'm looking at that area as a supply area, once again forming a lower high as we've continued to kind of form this lower highs and continue to apply pressure around this area that I mentioned, which was 67, kind of 50 to 75, 6,800 area. That's a key lows from the last couple months. You can see we've tried to pop off of it again and again and again and kind of continuously made lower highs and continue to drop down here with just heavy selling, right? So just kind of heavy context overall. That doesn't mean this is going to be the time we break that down right now. I'm just watching that for context, right? Okay, get rid of some of that. So you can see in the pre-market here how we've built quite a bit of volume consolidation here in this range. This is that 4-hour, candle that basically was all wick with a tiny body that we looked at. We can now see here with the volume distribution, how the volume fades at the highs and lows. We've built the point of control right there, basically where the body of that 4-hour candle is. And we're just sitting flat here. And so the market already sold off substantially overnight. We are down almost 2% on the day already. The market hasn't even opened at 9:30 yet. And so a lot of heaviness here, right? Consolidating here, right? This is that consolidation range. So what am I watching for? The main thing is if we break out of this range, so really under 6760s or kind of above 6790s, 6800s, we could look at potential mean reversions here. So we could, and I'm not saying I won't, we could look at potential mean reversions here, especially in the first hour if we kind of fake out and go sideways. That's very possible because today's kind of a lighter news day. We have a lot more high impact news coming out the next 3 days. So yeah, I look at the VIX, absolutely. Specifically, I look at VX, the VX futures. I'll talk about that too. I'll talk about that. Let me get to it. Let's finish going through ES and NQ, and then I'll talk about my analysis on VX for Confluence. All right. So we could look at potentially if the volume kind of dies out here, we continue to just kind of consolidate and have a sideways regular trading hours. Very, very possible. Could look for the mean reversions on this range, kind of above 6790 or below 6760, especially if it holds kind of above 6750 and below, 6800, 6810. That would be key. Really, we have kind of this low volume node up here as well. So mean reversions could come all the way up there potentially. Just need to read the auction in real time. The other thing that I'm watching for is if we just have a ton of strength and recover back above that and use this area as a target, maybe 68.20, or this little lower volume area here above these little highs here, back up into 68.50 to 60 range there. That's another key little spot that I would watch out for. To the downside, I don't have too much other than if we break this downside, you know, I really don't have much, like I said, until we come into those 6700s to 6720s. There's that down there, but it's not too significant. The next significant thing I have my eyes on is really all the way down at the 6600s. Okay. Let's take a look at NQ here. Now, again, here's where we had that pretty much all day rally yesterday. You can see I really didn't see any attempts, any opportunities to long on my end that made sense for my trade setups. And then we had this massive consolidation here after we broke regular trading hours highs from the prior day. This is where I took those shorts yesterday, right there, after seeing, you know, a lot of absorption there, targeting a break back down under 25,000 or my trailed take profit. Unfortunately, 25,000 did hit on that move. However, my trailed stop had already hit and taken profit for 37 points. Again, that's okay. It was only a 5-6 point risk. So still capitalized on what, a 5-6R trade there. Actually, let me pull it up on TradeZella and show you guys. Should have done that already. Should have done that when I talked about the trade recap. I'll cover that in a second. Right, so that's where I took that opportunity. You can see we ended up just consolidating sideways into the close from there, and then just a really large breakdown overnight, reversed that whole move from yesterday, broke under the lows. Now, again, we came into that key demand area where we've been consolidating, or not consolidating, we've been bouncing out of freaking every time we come down there for the last couple months. So we need to watch out for that to happen again. And so now we broke these prior day lows here, similar to how we broke these prior day highs and then consolidated. We broke these prior day lows and then consolidating here in the pre-market. So need to watch out for this. This is interesting that must have been a lot of volume transacted all the way down there at low, because we see the point of control all the way down there at those lows. Okay, so what am I watching here? If we recover this kind of $24,600 to $24,550, kind of the top of this volume bell curve here, and also aligned with this swing high. If we kind of, you know, break and hold above that, I'll be potentially looking for longs. Targeting 24,750 here, that value area high would be something to watch, as well as this low volume node right here around 24,700. Again, just kind of a scalp opportunity. Or the next thing I see is this kind of low volume area above those highs right there around 24.9. Right, so those are the next things that I'd watch there if we break out of that to the upside. To the downside, if we continue to build on this weakness and break down again, I don't see much below where we're at right now until we hit those higher time frame lows, kind of going all the way down. Let me mark this on my charts. Yeah, kind of, you know, at least 23.6 to 23,700-ish area. Try this over here. Let's show you guys. So I just marked this, but you can see this area where we consolidated at these prior lows and then rallied out of. That's around like 23.6, 23.7, 800-ish area. That's really the only thing that I see below here, right? If we break down this area here, I don't see much. You know, we could put on the way, we could potentially look at just these prior lows here and here. So like around 24, 24,170 to 24,260, 270. All right. Drop this over here. Now I'll show you guys what I've been watching on VX. Pull up my VX chart here. And VX is continuing to hold at the highs, right, guys? And so that's going to add a lot of pressure for the indices to potentially break down these lows, right? We broke down prior day lows already, and VX is still holding at the highs, breaking above prior day highs, which is kind of confirming the weakness that we're seeing here overall. So, you know, this certainly could be a bloody day if we continue to see that pressure at the lows. Or, you know, it could drop and mean revert, and we could, you know, jump right back up into there. We'll see. You know what? Let me go all the way out here. Let me take a look at my weekly time frame of the last couple years. I want to show you guys this first. So I'm just looking at like the last 3 years here, guys, on the VX. Last 3 years, you can see how like the floor on VX has kind of risen. We kind of continuously have risen, like what's the lowest low here, holding this upper trend line. And over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, while the indices have been mostly sideways, VX has been continuously holding higher lows and pushing higher. So that is interesting. Just taking a full like weekly chart zoom out here at the last couple years on VX, we've seen, you know, while the indices have been, you know, at all-time highs over the last couple years, the floor on VX has risen. And specifically over the last 8 weeks, last 6 weeks on the indices have been very sideways. Pressure has been building on VX. What does that mean? Demand for puts on SPX, right? Either people hedging with insurance for a potentially larger breakdown. People are hedging with insurance, or people are speculating that the market's going to turn down hard from here. Right? Specifically, big players are hedging or betting the market's going to go down from here. So that's an important thing to watch, especially if we can. I've been saying this for a while, but if we continue to see, like I've been talking about over the last few weeks specifically, how the indices have been making lower highs on a weekly and daily time frame, and VX specifically has been really persistently holding above 20, like 19.5, 20. So if we continue to hold above that and start now holding above highs at like 21, 22s, we're going to potentially see a lot of downside pressure on the indices. And I say that as someone who typically primarily trades a lot more on the long side than I do on the short side, right? At least over the last couple years. We see a lot of positive delta here already since I opened Bookmap this morning, like 6 or 7 a.m. 6:30 a.m. I opened Bookmap this morning. Since then, we've had a lot of positive delta, yet price has essentially gone nowhere up. So that's, you know, definitely interesting to see here, guys. Definitely interesting to see here, guys. All right, so I'll pause here. I have just a minute. We kind of ran through all the time this morning going through analysis and talking about these different things. Any questions before we wrap up? Again, for those of you that are in the Flipping Futures group that I run, we will be live for the trading session as always, just after this call. And we'll go through more analysis and more live trading for the session today. If you guys aren't in there, check out the link in the bio, if you got, or link in the description of this video if you guys want to be a part of that. I do coaching and mentorship in that group for order flow, supply and demand trading. If not, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you all being here on this YouTube stream. We'll continue to do these as I think a lot of people are getting some benefit out of it as far as adding confluence to their own analysis, maybe pointing out some things you didn't see already, or just learning a bit more about understanding supply and demand, understanding order flow, understanding how to come up with key trade scenarios and game plans. Thanks, TradeX, Jitsu, Acres. Thank you. Appreciate you guys tuning in. All right. I'll see you guys back in here tomorrow. Again, if you'd like to be part of my coaching group and in the live trading sessions that I run, check out the link in the description. But if not, thanks for joining in here. I hope this helped you. Hope this gets you better prepared for the trading day. And I'll see you guys back on here on YouTube tomorrow in the pre-market. Peace. Thanks, guys.